Hello, welcome to the video notes for lesson 14-2, interpreting a scatter plot. I can interpret the meaning of a point on a scatter plot. This begins on page 5 in your notes packet. Alright, so our first example, the scatter plot shows the relationship between the width of a book's spine and the number of pages in the book. So when I'm looking at this graph, this scatter plot, remember the points represent some data, and down here we have our independent variable, over here we have our dependent variable. So in other words, the number of pages depend on how thick the spine, the width of the spine is. So, is there a relationship between the spine width of a book and the number of pages in the book? And I think it's a pretty clear answer. Let's see here. Yeah, that looks like a pretty decent line. Actually, you know what? That is not a good line, because this one should start at 0. Because if it has a spine width of 0, then clearly there can be no pages. Why can't I start at the origin? Alright, close enough. Okay, so is there a relationship? Yes. A positive correlation. There is a positive correlation. Remember from the last lesson, as the data increases this way, it's increasing on the dependent. There is a positive correlation. I guess we could also say the wider the spine of the book, the more pages there are. What does the point A represent? So this point right here, by the way, this point we're going to say is the point 2.6 and 525. You don't have the table, but I do, and that's what that point is. Okay, what that means is a book with a spine 2.6, terrible 6 centimeters wide, has 525 pages. Now I know this because I know the value of that point. If you did not know the coordinates of that point and you were guessing, then you would say it's about 2.6 centimeters and about 525 pages, or somewhere close to that if you couldn't tell. If a book has a spine width of 0.5 centimeters, about how many pages would you expect it to have? And to me, it looks like about 100 pages, or approximately 100 pages. If a book has 800 pages, what do you think the width of the spine would be? So you have to, let me move the screen. If I go 800 all the way over to where it would touch this line, and I didn't make it go far enough, I would have to say, so you could answer this two ways. Either the width of the spine would be more than 4.0 centimeters, or about, say, 4.5 centimeters. So it's not an exact answer. So make sure that you use the approximate sign or you use the word about. Okay, over on the next page, page 6. So again, a scatter plot is a graph that uses points to display, so that's our visual, the relationship between two different sets of data, usually experimental. So when it says display, that means a visual. And then in relationship, we're talking about either positive, negative, or no correlation. We can use the data in a scatter plot to identify relationships between the data, interpret this data, and make predictions. Again, these predictions are not going to be 100% accurate, but they give you a good idea, and as long as you're close, then you're good. The scatter plot shows data students collected on their test scores and the number of hours they watched television the previous day. Answer the following questions. Is there an association or correlation between the hours spent watching TV the day before and test scores? If so, what is it? Okay. So when I look at this, I'm going to say there is definitely some sort of negative correlation, because as the hours increases, the test scores decrease. So yes, there is a negative correlation. Okay. The more hours watching TV lowers the test scores. And we know that's not always true. Some of you might disagree with that completely. The lower the score, the lower the test scores are. Period. If a student spent 2 hours watching TV the day before, what test score would you expect them to earn? So follow this up. Go to your line that you have here. It's called a best fit line, by the way. And it looks like about say, I don't know, it's a little bit above 80, so maybe about 81%. So if you were a little above or a little below, obviously this, where it meets it, is not below 80, but well, I guess it depends on where you draw your line too. If a student earned 80 on the test, about how many hours of TV would assume they spent watching? So we already know this, about 2 hours. How many students spent 1 hour watching TV the day before the test? So go up here and it looks like 3 students. And then the last question, how many students earned a 70 on the test? So follow 70 over, and it looks like we've got 2 students. So that's for question 5, which you can't see on my screen, but on your page. Okay, so pretty straightforward. Many of you probably already know how to interpret a graph, so this should be easy stuff. But if you have any trouble, go back and rewatch the video. Good luck, and we'll see you in math.